Welcome to An Awful World, but not awful like you think.
This is the show where we discuss whether we would have discovered important advances in a world exclusively full of Haylies and Libbys. I'm Haylie.
And I'm Libby. And today we're talking about drugs. Because I got high, because I got high. Recreational. Not medicinal. Recreational. But first, before we dive into this topic, I don't know why I went into this weird like nasally voice. Wanted to remind you that we're on Patreon now. Woo! Yes. We love Patreon. It's patreon.com/An Awful World podcast. Remember how you spell awful? It's not like the regular spelling. It's like the cool spelling. And this week, our first week with Patreon, we got 3 new patrons.
Woo! Woo! Yes, we want to give them a little shout out.
Yes, because they are awful aficionados.
Yes.
So shout out to Brian B, Kristen S, and Michelle W. Thank you so much.
Yay,
Woo!
thank you.
Thank you for your support, for helping keep the podcast going so we can talk about things like drugs.
And if you want a shout out, you can visit our Patreon and become a patron.
Be an aficionado, and also you could get like a sticker and a handwritten note and like tell us what you want to hear about. It's amazing. So check us out at Patreon, please and thank you. Patreon.com/An Awful World podcast. With that housekeeping out of the way, let's get into it.
Let's talk about drugs.
Let's talk about drugs, baby. So I literally wrote recreational and pharmaceutical ? And then I was like, no. We've already talked about medicine.
Yes.
Let's talk about drugs.
Yeah.
Okay. So this kind of blew my mind. Drugs are like hella old.
Well, yeah.
Which like I knew cannabis was really old for sure, because I know that they used to like use it in some way, shape, or form in China. I don't know why I knew that about China, but
Sure.
they did. So at least 2000 BCE, we know that we were using opium, cannabis, tobacco, and then any kind of like fungus, which is a crazy long time to be using drugs. And I was like, how do we know? Do you ever think that? You're like, how do we know?
Yeah.
But how would they know?
And it's always like, oh, well, there was like some residue in some like cave. And you're like, what?
A lot of it is that like burned cannabis and like ceremonial bowls that they were using. For
How do you know we were doing something fun with it?
It was for ceremonies, Haylie.
That's right.
Parties. Ceremonial parties. And then we had like alcohol and drinking vessels and whatever. And I thought this was wild. We found like poppy seeds in skeleton teeth that like obviously have like traces of opium in them.
Yeah. But also like maybe they were eating bagels. You don't know.
And tune in for our episode about bagels.
That's right.
I'm just kidding. But I just thought that was bananas. But then also art, like a lot of art like depicts the use of recreational drugs, I guess, throughout history.
That makes sense.
Which is fascinating to me. And then also, oh my God, this is crazy to me. We found cocaine metabolites in mummies in the Andes.
What's a metabolite?
A metabolite is like, it's like when your body processes something, it's like the byproduct.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you metabolize it, it has a byproduct. And for like alcohol, it's like really bad, you know? But we'll talk about that maybe later.
Later.
Maybe. Maybe. Okay, so we also have like later works that tell us that we were using like recreational drugs for things. There was really a lot of connection to religion with drug use initially, which is
fascinating,
hysterical, because now they're like the dare people, you know, they're like, we're not about that.
Which usually just backfires.
Yes. We have literally no idea like how or why we started using it. We really have no like semblance of it. Like just showed up.
I feel like it's the same way everything starts, which is should I just like try this?
What would happen if I just like ate this?
Yeah.
What would
You
happen
dare
if
me
I just
to
like
smoke this?
Yeah, I'm gonna set it on fire and I'm gonna breathe it in and see what happens.
And then people are like, whoa, I feel crazy.
So in an awful world, do you think that that's gonna happen?
Yes.
You do?
100%.
I don't know how confident I am. I know that the Libbies of the world would be like, hell no, I'm not smoking that. What do you like? This has to be vetted by other people first before I'll touch it.
Well, okay. Smoking things feels like something that like we wouldn't get into.
Yeah.
At least anytime soon. But I do feel like there would be like we figured out fire a long time ago because we're super cool and
we're
smart
amazing.
like that. Yes. But in the fire, we put something in there and then
then we inhale it.
Yes,
and we're like,
people are like,
whoa,
wow.
I feel funny.
Yes.
But I kind of like it.
Yes.
Let's do it again.
Exactly. And I think that's what would happen.
Okay. That's fair enough. I don't think it would be an intentional, like, I dare you to take this leaf and roll it up and see what happens.
No. Because I'm like, you're going to tell me to put fire that close to my lips? No, you crazy girl.
Which is funny because you're literally the person that's like, I want to take something out of the oven and put it on my
right
face.
on my face. Yeah, but it's not like on fire.
No, but it might as well be.
Yeah, I know. It's like 400 degrees. And I'm like, let me just like touch it to my cheek.
I just want to be warm.
Yes.
Okay, that's fair enough. So I wrote down that my suspicions about how it came around are probably like, some of it has to be early medicine, I think.
Yeah.
Of like, because there is so much like relying on like herbs and I don't know, other things to see what their medicinal benefits would be.
Yes.
And then I'm sure somewhere along the way, someone was like, yo, this did not help me with said ailment, but I felt kind of funny and I liked it and I want some more of that.
Yes.
And that was the beginning of the opium pandemic. No, I'm kidding. It wasn't. But obviously most drugs start as plants, like almost all of them, with the exception of like LSD. Obviously, because that's made in a lab. But
no, LSD comes from a fungus.
Really?
Yes.
Psilocybin comes from a fungus.
Yes, but LSD comes from a fungus that grows on rye.
Interesting.
I think a lot of it is these things where it's like, it starts with something like that and then they add junk
Stuff to it. Interesting. Actually, now that you say that about the rye, there's a wild theory that they have never been able to prove or disprove that the Salem witch trials happened because of like the rye being the bread and wheat and whatever being infected with something. I bet it was that.
Probably.
And it made people hysterical.
You're welcome, world. We just solved the Salem witch trial.
She's a witch.
Turns out they were all high.
But like most things start out as plants.
Yes.
Cocaine.
Yes, is the coca
Obviously, yes.
leaf.
Coca leaves. And I said they probably found what worked and what didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe so well.
So like with cocaine, I don't know why. Cocaine.
And if you want to hang out, you better. If you don't know these songs that we're singing, do you know that song? No. Oh my God. Cocaine, Eric Clapton, great song. Anyway, moving on.
Anyway, so
He didn't write it. It's a cover. Go on.
So with cocaine, I know that with like coca leaves to start, people were like chewing on them for energy and things like that.
Yeah, I'll bet that
Boy,
works.
I bet. Like, man, so now we just all like have coffee.
It started out so humble though. They're like, I know, we'll chew on these leaves so that we can get more work done. And now people are like, I'm going to snort coke so that I can go to a party and I can talk the whole time and not get tired.
Yes.
Humble beginnings.
But I kind of see how it, grows, but they also used it in like Coca-Cola.
Right.
And things like that. But I'm also just like, how do you get from a leaf to a little white powder?
Little powder.
And then how are you like, what's going to be like super fun? Putting it in my nose. Like of all places. They're just like,
yeah, there's no part of me that understands that. I'll be honest. I have never snorted anything.
No.
And I just
a nasal spray.
I mean, yes, that. And it's not pleasant. It like runs down it's a whole thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it's all connected. It just goes straight down your throat.
Yes. And I don't like that feeling. Yeah. But I'm guessing that probably like makes it metabolize faster because it goes straight to your stomach.
Yeah, well, and I think it's like getting into the blood vessels, and I think that's why people do it.
I'm making
I don't
faces.
really know, and I didn't really research that.
Interesting. I didn't either. I don't know if there's another way to consume cocaine. I'm not really sure.
No, I don't really know. I mean...
Oh, yeah, I guess people like put it on their lip.
Yeah, like in their gums.
Yeah.
But I think, again, that's the same thing to like get it in your bloodstream.
Interesting.
faster.
I guess I would rather do that than snort it.
Yeah. But people like snort Adderall too.
Just take it. You know?
Yeah,
you
just
could just
take it.
swallow it just like regular.
But I also think that like cocaine and Adderall are like kind of similar vibes.
Oh, for sure. They're like uppers.
Yes. But one is just like regulated.
Yes.
And one is not.
Yes.
You know, kind of a thing.
Welcome to the world of drugs.
Yes.
Because I'll tell you what, it pisses me off a lot, honestly, because so many things like the criminalization of drugs, which I'm sure I've written about at some point in my notes, but like the criminalization of drugs is just bananas bonkers to me. Because honestly, if we're being very real with ourselves, there is not a lot of difference, I imagine, allegedly, in drinking alcohol and being impaired from that and smoking marijuana per se.
I agree.
Now, other things like, okay, cocaine, literally every other drug just went out of my mind. Meth, heroin, like those things are like going to negatively impact you, like health-wise.
But if you were to use them in an appropriate amount, like a small amount, and it was regulated, because I feel like a big part of it is they're not being regulated. A lot of drugs are being made in like meth heads' kitchens.
And that's why people die.
Yes.
Because they're like cut with things.
Yes. And they're like, oh, everything's laced with fentanyl. And, you know, other things that you lace things with. Ketamine? I don't know.
Oh, God.
But, and so I'm just kind of like, if we regulated it, the states get the money.
I know.
And, or the government, wherever you're at, but the government gets the money for that and you get to regulate it. Yeah. But I think a lot of things, my guess would be is that alcohol, we know how to track it. Like,
that's true. Like
your BAC.
Yeah.
Whereas, so we
can't do that with marijuana.
Right. And really any other drug. I mean, how do you say, okay, you are officially to the point where you are too impaired? Yeah. So.
Which I just think it's funny because alcohol, in my opinion, most of the time, like makes people sort of behave recklessly.
Oh, I agree.
Marijuana, I've heard, makes you paranoid. Chill. And like
hungry.
Like if a person's going to get pulled over because they're driving while under the influence of marijuana, which don't do that. Just don't. Just don't. It's a dick move. But anyway, those people would probably be pulled over for driving too slow.
Yes.
They're not like speed demon, like mowing people over like Leo DiCaprio in that scene in The Wolf of Wall Street that makes me laugh so hard.
Yes.
Where he's like, and I got home without a scratch. Yes. So that, kids, is why you shouldn't do Quaaludes. Anyway, but I wrote down that I think it's interesting. Like it started out as like not really people like seeking a mind altering experience.
Yeah.
Like that wasn't like you said with the like cocaine, like people were chewing it for like energy.
Yes.
To like be able to do things, not necessarily just because it was fun to experience that.
And then it's like somewhere in there, we got a delicious soda, the best one in my opinion. But B, people were like, we could get crazy.
And you're like, whoa. Maybe like that's, I don't know where that jump happened. But I just think that's fascinating.
Yes. I also think it's fascinating though, because like even from cocaine, then you get crack. And then like, first of all, it's like the same, but it's not.
I know. I can never keep it all straight.
You know? So, but with crack, they add ammonia and baking soda and water, and then they just like heat it up. And then I think that it forms into like crystals, and then they smoke it.
Yeah.
In like a pipe. Or is that the one in the spoon? Or is heroin in the
I think
spoon?
heroin's in the spoon that you heat up in a spoon and then you put it in a needle, and then pretty sure that's heroin.
I think you're right.
Yeah. What is freebasing? Do you know? It's like something you like light it on fire.
I've never heard this term before in my life.
You've never heard of freebasing? Wait, can I look it up?
Sure.
On a hot mic?
Yeah, look it up.
Because I'm very curious. Because I remember, so there is a comedian, Richard Pryor, who's hilarious. And I think he hurt himself in like a freebasing accident. So freebasing cocaine. So it is the process of freebasing. Yes, that's literally what it's called. Thank you.
You can't use the term in the definition. Unhelpful.
So you separate the base form of cocaine from its naturally occurring salt form, and then you combine it with baking soda and water.
Wait, so this is just making crack?
It's pure. It like makes it, and then they take out the ammonia base, and it's like pure powdered cocaine.
Oh.
Make it suitable for smoking, but introducing complications if the drug is injected. So, interesting. So it's a way to smoke cocaine, I think.
Smoke coke.
Smoke coke. Anyway,
I would have never known you could have even done that.
Clearly, I have so much knowledge about cocaine.
Yeah.
I don't. Which is funny because I watch a lot of Intervention.
I will say, if I were to choose a like recreational drug to try tomorrow, I think it would be cocaine.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
For me, it'd be either cocaine or LSD.
I think I would have a major, major freak out on LSD.
I don't think so. I have obviously never done LSD.
Mm-hmm.
But I have read a lot about like LSD, I think came into the scene kind of like in the 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they were like microdosing people with it to like treat some of their depression and anxiety.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think in that kind of way, it's, you know, it's just a controlled environment where it's a small amount, then it's probably fine.
Again, see, we should, if we just regulate.
I know.
But whatever.
I hear you.
But I just think that with cocaine, I could get so much done. I could focus.
I mean,
I'd be so thin.
I know.
I'd be so chatty.
I feel like there would be very few side effects from using it short term.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Long-term side effects. Yes.
For sure.
But like once or twice, if I had to choose one to try tomorrow.
No. For sure.
You know, just to see what it's like.
No, I agree.
'Cause I don't do the drugs.
I don't do the drugs.
I'm on the Lexapro.
We're on the regulated drugs.
Right.
A lot of them.
And the Claritin.
But the unregulated drugs, sadly, no.
No.
Or maybe not sadly. I don't know. What is your take on addiction? I'm curious. Like, what do you think about it? What?
I think that, you know, it is a disease.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it can be genetic.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who have addictive personalities, whether it's drugs or alcohol or gambling or shopping or food or whatever. So I think it 100% is one of those things that is a disease. But I also think that it can come from somewhere else. And I think that you have to at least recognize that you need help.
For sure.
Because if people try to help you and try to help you and try to help you and you don't let them, eventually you're just going to push everybody away.
Oh, for sure.
So
I was just curious because I also agree that I think addiction is a disease. But I think that it's kind of like you said, like it's genetic or it's like that type of personality.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just don't think that, like, I know people who have like tried cocaine, for instance, and they are not addicted now and never have been addicted to it.
Yeah.
Like it was a thing they did in their, you know, like college days for parties or whatever, but they're not like, you know, struggling with some sort of cocaine addiction today, to my knowledge. So I don't know. I just think it's interesting. Like I think some people just have like certain personalities that are just more susceptible to like becoming addicted. And I feel like it kind of like some of it too is maybe social. Like, I don't know. I'm just thinking of like our cults episode. Like why do like for people like modern day, like why do they start using drugs?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's to like cope with something. horrible that's happened to them. So like on Intervention, which I love that show so much. And it's stupid how much I love it, but it's just so fascinating.
It is.
On that show, almost every single one of those people starts using drugs after suffering some sort of like abuse in their childhood.
Yeah.
Whether that be physical or sexual or whatever.
Just, it's a good way to forget.
Yes, exactly. And I've noticed the same thing when I watch My 600-Pound Life, which is obviously food addiction. Same thing. Yeah. Almost all of them have suffered something in their childhood that was so traumatic for them that they like use drugs to cope with it, which I just think is fascinating. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about addiction because I was like, I'm curious what you think. Do you think then that there would be addicts in an awful world?
Yes, because I think if it's a disease and because there are just like addictive personalities and things like that. And then there are things that are just addictive.
Yeah.
You know, I know people who don't seem to have an addictive personality who still have become addicted to something like drugs or something like that. Yeah. And I think it's just because some things are strictly just addictive. And so I think that in an awful world, there would definitely be addicts.
Yeah.
And I think there would be some of us who were just like, I don't really get it. I don't understand why you're so obsessed with this.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe we would have research into something like that. But I think we would come up with drugs.
Yeah. And I think we would too.
And I think that we would have addicts. Yeah. In one way or another.
See, I kind of struggle with that just because like I know for like my own sensibilities, like just take like smoking regular cigarettes, for example. I've smoked quite a few cigarettes and, you know, in a bar, you know, while tipsy. Yeah. Like on a Friday night. I don't want to say like quite a few, but like enough. Yeah. You know, and I have never once been like, God, I just need that feeling all the time. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's just not like something that I feel addicted to. And it's like, I understand there's nicotine in it, which is an addictive substance, but at the same time, it's like not altering my brain chemistry in a way that I feel like I need this. Yeah. So I guess I just like, I recognize that addiction is real. And like someone who's close to me was, you know, addicted to something once, and I recognize that it's a totally real thing. I don't understand it. Like, I don't know how you get there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I totally know what you mean. But I also think that like I am addicted to sweets, like sugar. Yeah. And so it's like I get it, but on a different level. Yeah. Like in law school, I had to have my gallbladder taken out. And then they were like, you need to be having a sugar-free diet, super bland diet for like at least a week afterwards. And I think I made it about 4 days before I broke down crying.
Sorry, pass.
And I was like, if I can't have sugar, then life is not worth living. You can't make me go on like this. And Ty like came home from Target with like a bag of like sugar-free butterscotch trying to make me better. I know. I was like, at least it's butterscotch, but good God, like this is awful. And so I'm like, I mean, I get it. It's not drugs, but it's sugar, you know, like it's something. And so there's going to be at least a couple of us who are like, ooh. Yeah. I love this feeling.
That's true.
You know?
That is true. I can, like, I think about like if you tried to take like coffee away from me or like caffeine, I would struggle with that. I'm definitely like caffeine dependent.
Yes.
So, okay. Yeah. I think you're right. Yeah. 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 And I agree. I think we would have drugs in an awful world. I don't think
we'd have all the drugs we have today.
Hell no. Because let's break this down chemically, shall we?
Let's.
Great. Because I've done so much research on the chemical bonds of drugs. No, I haven't. That would be a really boring podcast to listen to. So as we were talking about kind of with like cocaine, like how do we get from these like leaves to this fine white powder? Right. I have no idea.
And then turning that powder into crystals to smoke.
I have literally no idea. No. I have no idea how that works. Another thing too, like I just feel like the meth addicts are working too hard. They just have what an insane work ethic, honestly. Because I don't understand how they make it. Like, I know there's something with the Sudafed.
Yes, because I can't ever get Claritin.
Do you know last week I went to buy NyQuil at the store and I got carded for it?
And that is ridiculous.
What am I going to... It's one thing in NyQuil.
Yes.
What do you think I'm going to do with this? I feel like I'm buying 8 bottles of NyQuil, which if I was, stay out of my business, Kroger.
Right.
But that was weird. I was like, this isn't Sudafed. I'm not really sure why you need to see my ID, but fine. But yeah, it's like, I don't know what they do with the Sudafed, but there's like also a lot of other stuff they add to it.
Yes.
Like sawdust and I don't even know.
And ephedrine. And they have to use, so meth is ephedrine, pseudoephedrine, and then it's mixed with other chemicals, and then they add a solvent.
Okay.
But I'm like, a solvent? Like, why?
Like what? Yeah.
And just why? Like
gasoline?
Yes, they're always adding like gasoline or like cleaners and like bleach and like things like that. And I'm like, but what part of you is like, you know what I'm going to put in my body?
Yeah.
This.
And also like, I'm going to smoke it.
But also, do you think that like, because they're using like Sudafed, do you think that their like allergies are just like great? Like their sinuses are just so clear?
I mean, you would think so.
You would think, because, okay, then 0.1 to meth heads, whatever, like, all right.
So I do think that some of the draw initially with meth to people is that it does give you energy like cocaine would do. Now, cocaine is historically a rich people drug.
Yes.
It's like a rich people party drug.
Yes, it's a party drug.
Mm-hmm. Whereas I think meth, I'm going to name it right now, live on a mic for you. The poor man's cocaine.
I get that.
It's cheaper for them to make it because it's not as pure, but like it's having the same effect on you and like a lot of like really bad long-term effects.
Yeah, but I'm also like, it's not having the same effect on you.
I mean, it does make you like wake up though.
Yes, but then they're all like, oh, there's bugs in my skin. And
I mean, true. It does make you very paranoid.
Yes, and I'm like, that sounds scary.
Yeah.
I just want to be like, dancing and not eating dinner.
Yeah. Well, I will say, when I've watched these episodes of Intervention, and I mean, like I said, someone I know was at one point using meth. Mm-hmm. And I compare the way this person behaved when they were using meth with the way these people on Intervention were behaving. And I was like, this is weird. This is different. Like, they're not acting rationally, but like, they're also not talking crazy necessarily. So when I realized that like some people get like drug-induced psychosis.
Yeah.
And I really think that is what causes them to be like, to see the bugs and to, have these like grand illusions.
Yeah.
I don't think that happens across the board, at least not based on what I've seen from people and then like my own experience dealing with someone who was using meth.
Yeah. Very
different experiences. It would just be like not really being able to have like a coherent conversation and that's not really how a lot of the people I've seen on Intervention are. So anyway, I just think it's interesting that I think like some of that too is just like how your brain chemistry is.
Yeah.
Like whether or not you're more like susceptible to having psychosis because I don't know, maybe you have something else going on. Maybe you have, personality disorder or some other sort of like mental disorder that might cause you to behave differently but like really differently on a drug.
Yeah.
Not just like having a good time staying up. You know what I mean?
Right.
So.
But I mean, there are people who like take cocaine and then they're like, oh, it worked just like Adderall did. And I just like left the party and went home and cleaned my house.
Nuts.
And then I'm like, oh, that probably means that you have ADHD and you should be on Adderall.
Yeah.
And yeah. And so maybe they're much closer than we think.
Yes. I have tried Adderall. Mm-hmm. You can't come after me because it's legal. So,
I mean, if you get it from your doctor.
Yeah, exactly. Which is totally what I did. Then you do. I mean, I felt that way where I'm like super hyper focused.
Yeah.
I think people who are ADHD are like I don't even know. Like they're just like brought down to like a much calmer level. And I don't feel like I'm somebody that needs it. You know what I mean? But it is literally straight amphetamine.
Yes.
That's literally amphetamine salts. That's what it says on the bottle.
Yes.
Like it's just like, it's meth, but without all the bad stuff.
Yes.
So like, I don't know. Just don't use meth.
And
please.
this is why I'm like, just regulate it. Just regulate it.
Yeah.
I mean, people are still going to make their own.
They are. People are still going to use it. They're going to, all of that. I don't think the criminalization of drugs has helped.
No.
I think, unfortunately, the criminalization of drugs has made it worse. And it also disproportionately affects certain types of people in our society.
Yes. The war on drugs is racist.
Yeah, it's incredibly racist. And it also causes overcrowding of prisons and all kinds of stuff.
But they're using that to get their slave labor.
I fear the 13th, baby. I mean, I get it. But yeah, it just sucks because it's like, it's not a crime to be under the influence of something. It's a crime to possess something.
Yes.
But it's like so many people who are addicted to drugs, who are using drugs, end up in the wrong place because of the war on drugs. So thanks for that, Ronald Reagan.
Yep.
Really appreciate that. Anyway, but slowly, we are moving glacially towards the legalization of some things.
Yes.
Obviously, cannabis being the leading among those. I do think psilocybin, which is the active ingredient in LSD and also like mushrooms.
Yeah.
And naturally occurs in mushrooms. I do believe it's legal in like Oregon, Washington, like Pacific Northwest, which kind of checks out.
Yeah.
It checks out for them.
It does.
They're vibey. They're whatever.
They're vibey.
They're feeling themselves, But yeah, marijuana is still like a slow, like I'm telling you, Indiana's feeling like it's going to be one of the last states.
Indiana will legalize it when the Supreme Court makes them.
Yeah. Which is
just like gay marriage.
I'm just not sure that's ever going to happen. Which is really a shame because every time I think almost every state around us, absent Kentucky, which maybe allows medicinal.
I think it does.
But not recreational purchasing.
Right.
But Ohio, Michigan, and Illinois all allow for the recreational purchase of marijuana.
Yes, we're missing out on money.
Yes. All that money.
Yes. That is what it's going to come down to. And the Supreme Court, someday, I guarantee you, they do legalize it and it will become all about the dollars.
Yeah. Which okay, great.
Yeah.
That's
just do
what
it.
we did with cigarettes,
Yes.
right? Just here's what we're going to do. We're going to regulate it. We're going to tax the shit out of it. It's the same with alcohol.
Yes.
Go for it.
It makes your citizens safer because it's not laced with crap.
Yes. And that is my big thing. It's much, much safer.
Yes.
Because let's be honest, the use of cannabis in the United States is very widespread.
Yes.
Which is not something that I realized until I was probably 22 years old, where I was like, oh, it's because it's always it's a gateway drug. It's so bad. And
you're a loser if you use it and you'll never have a real job.
And I know so many successful people, perfectly normal people who use cannabis on a fairly regular basis. So I just think it's fascinating. And that part really bothers me is please, do not buy it from some random stranger on the street, especially nowadays, because everything's laced with fentanyl and they're just terrifying you. It's not worth losing your life over. No.
And you know what? It's the same thing that I say about gay marriage. If you don't want to partake, don't. No one is forcing you to smoke weed and no one is forcing you to be in a gay marriage.
Right. I do think that there should be some sort of way to like we kind of talked about, it's not as easy to, measure how high somebody is,
right?
Based off of their blood content or whatever.
Right.
I mean, you could use their blood content, but we don't have breathalyzers for,
which
cannabis use.
We should be working on.
Yeah, we absolutely should be. But also just be sensible.
Yes.
It's 2025. So there are Ubers everywhere.
Yes.
You have friends. You can call that unless you absolutely have to, it's a situation in which you cannot get out of without driving. I urge you, do not drive under the influence of any drug.
No.
But especially marijuana. And also don't drive under the influence of alcohol because that's just also rude and just not necessary in 2025. I just wanted to say that. Why do I feel like I'm like giving life lessons to the listeners like they're 15 years old?
Remember cults?
I know.
We were like, don't be in a cult.
I know you're going to smoke the weed. Fine. But just be safe about it.
That's right.
Okay? Because in an awful world, we're not doing that.
No.
We're not doing death because you decided to drive a car under the influence of something.
Well, in a world full of Haleys and Libby's, we probably wouldn't have cars.
Excellent.
So we wouldn't even have to worry about it.
Not going to get in a horse and buggy accident.
That's right.
Because your rye was stripped with LSD.
That's right. All we wanted was some bread.
And now she's a witch.
Her sister was a witch, bro.
The Wicked Witch of the East.
You're going to look at me and you're going to tell me I'm wrong?
A daily conversation. So anyway,
so I think that we should kind of run through these drugs really quick.
Okay.
And say, would we have them in an awful world? And would we have them in like the current form?
Okay. That sounds fun.
Okay.
I'm going to do that.
So let's start real easy. Weed.
Yes.
Okay.
And I do believe that we would have it in the form we have now because it's just marijuana leaves that have been dried up.
Yes.
And ground up.
Now, people like bake with weed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know how. And then there's like gummy bears. And there's like bongs, which I don't really get. So there's like water. And sometimes people use like an apple.
That's for a bowl.
That's a bowl. Okay.
Yeah.
So like, all right.
And you're like, a bowl like in my cabinet? I'll look it up, Karen. A smoking bowl.
Yes. I'm like, which is just a cute little glass pipe.
It's true. It is. Which looks different from a meth pipe, by the way. I just wanted to point that out.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know. Okay.
Okay. So let's start with putting it in food.
Yes.
It's very, very difficult to make cannabis butter. I've never done it, but I know someone who did it one time, and my God, is it a process? Because you have to like cook it for a long time and then do all this stuff with it and then strain it through cheesecloth and it's a very long process that I'm not confident we would figure out.
Okay. Well, and because it has to be butter, we haven't gotten to food yet, but there are big question marks around dairy.
Put a pin in that.
Yeah.
Put a pin in that for sure. So
we're not baking.
No. And also it's too hard to control how you feel, probably.
That's true.
Because there's no like way to dose it really as well with food if you're just doing it by yourself.
Right.
Okay. Gummies.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know what gummies are now. It's gelatin or something,
which
but it's like
from like
horse hooves. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. I was like, I'm pretty sure it's like horses and.
So I try not to think too hard about that.
Rob's not. Yeah, I know.
But it's like not Jell-O, but it's like Jell-O.
That's why I'm more of a chocolate girl and not like a candy girl.
Yeah, I mean, I get that.
There's no horse hooves in my chocolate.
That you're aware of.
Say, oh my God. It's not a fear. I need it.
What do you think they're using over there at the Dove factory? Birds. There are birds in your Dove chocolates.
But are birds real?
Well, that remains to be seen. So gummies, no, not confident in that.
Cool.
Because I think that would also require us to refine it into some sort of way to get it in said gummies. Then that's really a lot of faith in us.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know what they're doing.
Me either.
I don't work in the weed gummy factory.
Bongs.
Bongs. Yes.
I don't understand how bongs work now.
There's something about water.
It is water. They're called water bongs. I am not familiar with how to use a bong.
Also, our glass blowing skills would just have to like
be a fire.
Yes.
Or you could use
fantastic.
An apple.
Yes, which was all, and just like bowls, and which is like a normal pipe, and you can make them glass, you can make them wood, you can do whatever. You can use an apple or like a cantaloupe I see on like movies. I don't know.
Pineapple Express. Sure.
Yeah.
So I feel confident about that because that's just not the bongs, but the bowls,
but like bowls
or like using the fruit.
Yes, and then like paper.
Yeah.
You know,
easy peasy.
Joints.
We got that.
We've got that.
We have got joints all day long.
But I guess in this situation, we have to, would have to make the decision that we're going to smoke it and not just be like, ooh, there's a fire and there's smoke in the air and we like that.
So
someone has to put a fire, like put a flame right up to their lips.
So what I think would happen though, is that we would be like, okay, we set it on fire and we inhaled the smoke, and that's clearly what's causing us to feel this way. And we're not dead. So what if we just figure out a different way to inhale it? I don't know.
That's true. I don't know.
I'm not sure about, I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like we would at least have a fire. We'd just be like, bonfire night. Everyone's getting crazy.
And then everyone just wafts it in their faces. Everybody, deep breath. All right. How's everybody feeling? Lightheaded from all those deep breaths? Good.
It's like one time in my sorority, like every Sunday you had chapter, and they had someone come to talk to us about like mental health. And because it was like close to finals, and she was like, now, if you take too many deep breaths in a row, you'll start to hyperventilate. And all of us at the same time, 150 girls, were just like, she was like, well, don't do it.
I just wanted to see if that was true.
Like, oh.
Yeah, that's a thing. Obviously, it's why people breathe into paper bags.
Yeah.
Get themselves to slow down. Oh my gosh.
So, we'd be doing that on our bonfire nights.
Yeah, nobody pass out. Shit. She passed out. Do you think it's the bonfire, or do you think she just breathed too hard?
Yeah.
That'd be the conversation.
Yes.
Okay, so that's cannabis. Hit me with your next one.
So next, let's go into cocaine. No.
Absolutely not.
I definitely think we could find the coca leaf. I think we could chew on it and be like, ooh, what a little zip, a little fun. I think that's as far as we would get.
Yeah, because let's be honest, the Haylie and Libby of this world do not understand, nor did we research how cocaine is taken from a plant to a powder substance. I have no idea. I'm like,
maybe if we figured out smoking, we could try smoking a coca leaf, but then like, would that kill us? I have no idea.
I have no idea.
How many Haylies and Libbies do you think we have to kill off before we're like, ooh, that's bad?
That's true.
And it's not just like a fluke.
I don't know.
Because like one, you're like,
See, I think we would be so paranoid that it would be like two. We'd be like, well, correlation is causation, so it's done.
Yep, 100%.
It's done. That's what killed him.
100%. Now, if we never get cocaine, we never get crack.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Which 100%.
Right. I think the world is better for us not being able to figure out crack.
I agree.
See, sometimes I think the world would be better without scientists.
Yeah. Well,
certain scientists.
Meth.
Again, no.
Absolutely not.
Look, we're not going to have Sudafed in an awful world.
No. And we're not going to have like Drano or like gasoline.
No.
So like
none of those things.
So we just
literally we're left with zero ingredients. We're like, I don't know. We have ammonia.
Right.
No, we don't. I don't
know what ammonia is.
I mean,
like I know, but like,
yeah.
But like, do I? Like,
I think like bodies naturally produce ammonia. Cats definitely
that's true.
do.
Isn't it like in pee?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So like,
that's our solvent. Boom.
Boom.
Now the problem is we don't have anything else.
Do we snort it?
Yeah. Do not snort your pee. There was an episode of My Strange Addiction about
that. Oh my God. Who is actually doing that?
People.
People.
Snorting it. And I'm just like, snorting liquid just seems, anyway.
I mean, nasal spray.
It's the nasal spray all over again. It is not a comfortable feeling, in my opinion.
No, it's not. But you get used to it. Okay. LSD.
See, now that you've told me, I don't know. I'm not really sure. Maybe. My assumption is going to be that if we were to discover it, would be off of the rye,
and making the bread,
right? Assuming that like the making of bread wouldn't burn it off. I don't know. I'm not really sure how that works.
Well, I mean, how were the people crazy and thinking they're witches then?
It's just a theory.
I know, but I'm just saying, if we're following that theory, then it doesn't.
But I'm like, were they eating the rye some other? I don't know. So anyway,
just like
chewing it like Tom Sawyer,
like farmers,
yeah. So I think yes, but I think we'd discover it, but I think we would be like, oh my God, stay away from that. Because I think it would be way too trippy.
Yeah.
Because like, you don't know how much you're like consuming. You're like, this bread is okay. Like, I mean, I prefer a marbled rye. But
I'm more into the pumpernickel. But.
right. From the Cheesecake Factory specifically. But yeah, I think because like it's my understanding. Again, I've never done LSD, so I have no idea. But it's my understanding that like it's very much like, ooh, like it's super psychedelic colors and shapes and all that.
But okay, so I feel like today, in the world that we live in today, if I were to do LSD, I don't really know how you say like how you do it.
I don't know. Don't look at me.
I don't know. Is it the same as acid?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't know.
We're gonna say it's in the same realm.
Haven't dabbled in that.
Could be the same. I don't know. But anyway, I'm doing LSD. I'm not.
We're using that sound bite to get you fired.
But so let's just pretend I'm doing LSD.
Okay.
And this is the world we live in. There's a lot going on.
I'm already terrified.
Right. Like, just
I don't need the help of psychedelic drugs.
Right. So you're adding drugs to the situation that is the world today in the United States, Indiana, 2025.
Fuck that.
Right. Do I need LSD?
No.
Absolutely not. Should I be doing it? Not even a little bit. Am I going to have a good time? No. But
where's this going?
But let's just say 2,000 years ago.
Okay.
Like old school Haylies and Libbies kicking it in a cave.
Things are chill then? You really believe that?
Well, okay. We have no screens.
You really believe that?
I like to think that in a world full of Haylies and Libbies, the people are better.
Well, they are. So,
because, we know what's going on.
This is shit.
Because every day
there's some
I'm constantly saying
fresh
people
hell.
Are bad.
Yeah, I
people
know.
Are bad.
There's always some new fresh hell. I'm like, it's okay.
And I'm like,
it could get any worse. And then I'm like, oh my God.
Ourselves.
Don't
listen
do that. To Haylie.
Yeah, don't listen to the Haylies.
Listen to
the
me.
Libbies.
There is hope. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I promise. It's going to be okay. We can do
Loop
this.
is a bad man. Help us. Save us.
Yes. Help. Loop is a bad man. Help us. Oh, Spy Kids jokes.
Anyway, we're sitting around in caves. There's no screens. There's no dictators. Nothing bad is happening. And you just eat some crazy bread.
Oh my God, crazy bread. Which is funny because that's what they have at Little Caesars. There's definitely meth in that. Go ahead.
Definitely. Don't you think that you could just kind of be like, wow, crazy?
Maybe.
Instead of being like, wow, I'm dying.
Or do you think you would be like, oh my God, there's a bear outside. Oh my God, what was that sound? Oh my God, we're being hunted.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I
don't
feel
know.
like life's a little chiller. So maybe.
Is it though? You know?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe.
Is it? Because there's like no certainties of that life. Like, you're like, I don't know. I could like, if I can't find something to kill and eat, like I could die.
Well, but then I guess at that point you're like, well, something's going to kill me. Maybe it's this crazy bread. Maybe it's not.
Maybe it's this crazy bread. I don't know. I mean, maybe.
So I'm going to say,
if you don't have so much bullshit to think about, maybe it would be a fun experience. Yeah. I don't know.
I'm thinking, 2,000 years ago or longer. I don't know. And we're a world full of Haylies and Libbies. So life is not working a 9 to 5 and there's no such thing as like rise and grind and all of that crap. And so what is life? I think it's just like frolicking in the fields and like doing fun crafts. And
I'm sorry, I just think that you're just describing a European country now. Like they're not here for the hustle. They're like a siesta, dinner until 10. Let's drink wine with every meal.
Yes. And then they're like, give me the crazy bread.
Crazy bread. Yeah.
So I'm thinking, yes, we have LSD. Okay. But only in the form of crazy bread.
Okay. I can get on board with that.
I think that would be fun. I think it sounds nice. I'm kind of here for it now.
Okay. All right.
I've talked myself into it, actually.
You've possibly talked me into it. So, okay.
All right. And now the last drug that I have on this list, I don't think this is the end of the list of drugs, but this is the end of the list.
That's it. You've talked about every drug ever. So,
but it's the end of the drugs that I know.
Okay.
Heroine.
Opium, maybe.
I think so.
From the puppies. That makes my mom really uncomfortable. And I love to just like when I'm giving her a hug, just be like, puppies, just right in her ear. Like, whew, that went right over our heads in The Wizard of Oz. But anyway, because she's like in a field of puppies and she falls asleep because of the opium.
Yep.
So
but also she puts a spell on the poppies.
Sure.
So.
That's what they meant.
She does.
I just winked at Haylie. I was like, right. It definitely wasn't the opium they're referring to. So maybe the opium.
Yeah.
Does it get to the point of being heroin in the form that we have it now? No.
Because
we're not using needles. Thank you very much.
Exactly. You can bet your bottom dollar that I am not.
And I will, Annie.
I will not be injecting myself with heroin.
Also, it's like fucking disturbing. So again, I watch Intervention. A lot of people are addicted to heroin and it is disgusting. They'll do it like they blow out veins. And so then they have to start doing that like in their neck and everything.
And then the toes,
all of it.
The toes. What did I watch? And there was something and they like took their shoe off and then it was just like gooey. And I was like,
ew.
I did not like it. Also, I apologize to the listeners for my gagging.
Hopefully you don't have sensitive gag reflexes.
Stop it, Ken.
Whoops, sorry. But yeah, they also have to like, when they put it in, like they pull back on it first to like get blood to make sure they're like in a vein before then they push it.
And then they're always like reusing the needles. Which
no needle exchange programs in an awful world, okay?
Because we wouldn't need them.
Nope. I'm not sure we're even coming up with needles.
Probably
I'd be like, you want me to put what? Where?
Right. I don't know though, because we did talk about piercings and we were like, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So like,
I guess I was like, what's that have to do with needles? Piercings and tattoos. I'm like, nah. That doesn't have to do with needles. Like,
so we'll have needles, but also am I going to put heroin in these needles? No,
I'm not volunteering to stick myself like with a needle several times a day.
No. And especially not in places like between my toes
or my neck. Yeah, no, thank you.
Big time yuck.
Not a fan.
But would I eat a bunch of poppy seed bagels? Absolutely.
Which I'm pretty sure on Mythbusters, they like tested it and they were like, it would take like an insane amount of poppy seed bagels for you to actually like pop positive on a test.
Because I watched that episode last year when I was really sick.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
And they ate like, he ate like a whole poppy seed cake.
Ew.
And that was how, like, then he tested positive. But they had to eat like...
Oh, really?
Yeah. But it was like a whole cake.
It's been so long since I've seen it, but I remember that being a thing.
And I'm like, I could eat a whole cake.
I could do that, no problem.
I could do that. Easy peasy.
My grandma used to make poppy seed chicken. Like, it's like a casserole kind of thing. And I always used to be like, I don't know. Because I got random drug tested twice in high school.
Jesus Christ.
And I was the most pious little, like... I would not even know where to get drugs if I wanted them.
Yeah.
You know? So, anyway, that's drugs in an awful world, I think. That's all I have left to say about it.
Beautiful. So, would we have drugs?
Yes.
Yes. Would we regulate them? Yes. Would we ever lace them with things like fentanyl?
No. Because guess what? We don't have fentanyl.
I don't even know what fentanyl is.
Me either. I know that it's like a pharmaceutical drug they use like in hospitals for pain management type stuff.
And people put ketamine and stuff, and I don't know what that is either.
That's the second time you mentioned ketamine. I don't know. It's like
only know
tranquilizer.
Because
of the hangover.
No, because of some show I watched on Apple Plus. And it was like, I think it's called Platonic. It has Seth Rogen and that Australian woman who...
Nicole Kidman.
No.
Who?
Who's, I think, in Get 'Em to the Greek or the other one. No, it's Get 'Em to the Greek. But her name's like Rose or Rosie or something like that. Okay. Anyway, they're in this show together and then they like do cocaine or something and they're like, ketamine's in everything now. Everything's laced with ketamine. And I don't know what ketamine is, but apparently it's in stuff.
Pretty sure it's like a downer, like a tranquilizer.
Could be.
Like Special K.
I'd believe you.
Like one of Job's forget-me-nots.
Oh, yeah.
In Arrested Development. That's what I'm picturing.
Yes.
But anyway.
Anyway, I don't know what those are, so we're not going to lace things. And honestly, that's not chill, bro. Like, don't.
Chill, bro. Don't sell me a fake narrative of what you put at this.
If I were to buy one drug, I am purchasing this drug. Contractually, give me the drug that I purchased.
Respectfully, give me the drug that I purchased.
Exactly. Don't
Thank you.
lace it with something else. Don't cut it.
God, the
with something
consumer,
else.
I mean, the consumer laws in an awful world, we would have those fire.
Yes.
We'd be up on the BBB like, excuse the fuck out of me.
Exactly.
This person, drug dealer Johnny, he tried to sell me Special K laced with something else, except there wouldn't be Special K and there wouldn't be lacing.
No.
So
the closest we would maybe get to Special K is like the cereal.
It's such a sad cereal as far as cereals go. But
it's true.
Anyway.
Maybe we'd figure it out.
All right. Well, that's drugs. Thanks. That was a fun episode.
Yeah, it was a fun episode.
I really liked talking about that. It's a fun topic to talk about. So anyway, before we wrap it up, just want to remind you, our Patreon's out there. Patreon.com/AWFHALworld podcast. 3 tiers. Go check them out. Give us some support.
Get your shout out.
Yes. If you are a patron currently, send us some ideas. What do you want to hear about what would happen in an awful world? But until then, we hope your day is simply awful.
Wow.